Welcome to No Direction, the Pathfinder News, Reviews, and Interviews podcast. I'm Ryan Costello Jr.
And I'm the ghost of Jefferson Thacker, also known as Perrin.
Welcome back, ghost of Jefferson. Welcome back, Perrin. Sorry,
hey,
coming off guard with a bit.
Sorry. And joining us is creative director of Syrinscape, Benjamin Loomis.
Hello, Looms. That's all right. It's with weird English spellings. That's fine.
How are you doing,
we
Ben?
said Syrinscape better now, which lots of people have trouble with, Syrinscape and Syrinscape and stuff like that. But it is just Syrinscape, like the Sci-Fi Channel.
The siren.
Yeah, that's like a siren singing. Look, the Y makes it easier to search on Google and stuff like that. So it's a good spelling, and it looks pretty having the little Y poking out below. And I'm well, in answer to your kind question.
Excellent. Well, you were on the podcast either last year or earlier this year, and we were just talking about all of the electronic tools that are useful to Pathfinder players. Today we're going to get a little more in-depth specifically about Syrinscape and how gamers can use Syrinscape to enhance the atmosphere of their game. I've been using it in my Rune Lords game. We're about 5 sessions in, and we definitely used it to enhance the attack on Sandpoint. So we're going to talk about that and all the other things that make Syrinscape so cool. But first, why don't you just sum up what Syrinscape is for anyone that may not know?
Absolutely. Syrinscape makes music and sound design, sound effects, world sounds, roars of monsters, crashing buildings, just the background hum of insects for your tabletop game. And it does it in a way that is very, very easy to manage and do for the GM and is non-distracting and non-attention-seeking for the players. And I basically made it for my own table because I was using some movie soundtracks and I was using sort of some one-off sounds that I was setting off in Windows Media Player and whatever, and it became quite hard to manage and often a bit repetitive and annoying. And so I made it for my own table, and I got such a great reaction, I decided to share it a bit wider, and through the years it's evolved into something that's quite powerful and easy and pretty to use.
It is. I think the prettiness and the ease of use are two things that set it apart from a lot of similar tools. Well, actually, I don't know if there are similar tools, but a lot of fan-made tools that people then turn into products. Yours is just, it's gorgeous, and I get exactly what everything does just by looking at it.
Yeah, we argued at length about the interface. There's a lot of detail in the sound design, exactly how each of the elements of the design works, like exactly where the wolves are allowed to come in the surround spectrum, how often they're allowed to come, how far they are away, and all of those features are available in the Soundset Creator to me, and in 2015 to all of you guys as well. But in the actual player, what I actually need at the table while I'm trying to run a game, which I tend to pretty much do on overload, we've cut it right back, so you can just adjust the volumes of things, you can turn things off, and you can turn things on, and that's really, really important. For me as well, what also set it apart was the quality of the sound design. There's actually some really sort of useful tools out there, but you either had to do the sound design yourself from scratch, and there are actually some 15-minute MP3 recordings out there, lots of those on Kickstarter at the moment, which are really gorgeous sounding and wonderful. But as anyone who's listening to this podcast will know, you tend to sit in a location in Dungeons & Dragons or Pathfinder or Star Wars or whatever you're playing. You tend to sit in one location for at least an hour and a half, and by the 8th time you start to hear those same repetitious patterns of, it's woof, woof, 3 for $1. The players actually start to notice those patterns, and I actually had a situation early on when I was mixing my own sort of 15-minute tracks where the players actually said, stop, 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 and they all went, woof, woof, 3 for $1, because it was like the 9th time they'd heard that pattern. And, it's not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to notice the sound. It's most supposed to be almost completely subliminal in its effect. And so Syrinscape uses all these really powerful randomization features and things like that, so that it never, ever repeats itself. There's also never, ever a seam. It never gets to the end of a cycle and has to restart. Everything just keeps going and going and cross-fading and looping, and all the elements of the sound design are all separate. So the dogs might be woofing, and then there might be a cart going past every now and then, but they're never linked, which, it makes it really, really powerful and nice to listen to.
Yeah. And it's also easy to adjust. If you do get tired of the dog barking, you can just take out the dog barking from your sound set and just go with the ambient noise.
That's right, and what's really great with this, the new version that came out about 18 months ago, which was the new, beautifully, fully professionally developed, version, which I was able to put out because of my professional partnership and the new business. You can actually mix together all the different elements of all the sound sets as well. I should go back a step. It's hard to remember what people know and when people don't know anything. So you'll have a town sound that has all those elements. It has carts going past, has dogs, has sort of maybe the seagulls which are down at the beach, which are very, very distant. And I also have, for instance, a storm sound set, and it has rain and thunder and all sorts of stuff like that, and trees falling down. You can actually mix those together. So as you said, if you get sick of being in town, you can just turn on a bit of rain and maybe some really, really distant thunder just to sort of change up that level. And of course, you can do that in the battles as well. So when you're fighting the dragon and getting splashed in acid, you can also splash them with water as well, which could be advantageous, I guess. And so that sort of ups that environmental influence. When I'm playing with maps in a game, I love to be able to use environmental factors, so a cliff edge or a swamp or a tree or something you can stand on. And you can actually do that with sound as well now. You can have the fact that it's slippery because there's clashes of thunder and there might be trees falling down on you and all that sort of stuff, which I really, really like.
Yeah, you mentioned that it was kind of oh, sorry, go ahead, Pam.
I was saying that I really like the new features, especially because before Syrinscape, I was doing the whole MP3 player type thing with, with the stuff meant for this, the Dungeons & Dragons sound set, stuff you can buy off RPG Now. Even then, it was really limited. And then when we upgraded to this, and especially the news player, it's like I've upgraded to Gandalf's sound mixing studio.
That's right. I am a magician. And the best thing is, for me as a GM, so when you want to add in that storm to the town, you can do that in advance. So in my town, I've just got the town, which is right. I might, turn off the dogs because I know at some point I might get sick of them. So then I save that as a preset as well. And I also save a preset of the town just with a couple of rain things on. So it's actually just one click. It sits there open on my tablet. I'm looking at my players. I'm communicating about them. I'm thinking about where it's going and what I should be adjusting. And then I might just reach over in one touch. And that was really, really important to me, not to have me turned away from my players fiddling with trying to get something right, because that's where I was before I actually wrote this software, and that was really difficult.
Now the last time we talked to you, we were talking about how you would have a possible upcoming partnership with Paizo, and now that has become a definite partnership with Paizo, and all kinds of cool Paizo sound sets have started to come out. Can you give us a brief overview about how that's been going? Yeah,
it's just been fantastic. I mean, I'm an absolutely massive, I can't use the word tragic because that's Australian. I mean, I'm a very enthusiastic fan of Paizo and Pathfinder, and I particularly love their world-building skills and their creativity and, their real expressiveness of their art and all their writing. So Galarian was something that always excited me, being able to write sounds for that. And it's it's actually relatively easy to think of what Galarian sounds like, because a lot of it's written down, but of course none of us have been able to hear it until I got to have the chance to do it. So in that Attack on Sandpoint, in Rise of the Rune Lords, when you're playing the first part of that adventure path, and actually I'm just about to release the fourth part of that now, when it says the goblins attack, and there's the goblin song, and they're smashing things, and they're setting things on fire, and they're setting off fireworks, that's all in Syrinscape. So when you're playing Rise of the Rune Lords now, you just have the lovely, peaceful, happy town sound. It says there's a thunderstone that the mayor uses to attract the attention for the speeches. I can set off that thunderstone just with one little click of the thunderstone button. There's the swallowtail release sound, which is just totally gorgeous. These great big butterflies all flapping out. You can just touch that. You get to hear the swallowtail release. And then, of course, best of all, goblins attack. And you just touch goblin attack, and all hell breaks loose. And you've got, explosions and giggles, and women screaming and children crying. It's all the lovely stuff you want to hear. So yeah, we've signed a license agreement with Paizo to go through and support the Pathfinder game. We're going through and making specific content for the Rise of the Rune Lords adventure. Each chapter has a big pack of 5 sound sets that covers every aspect of that adventure. And of course, we're hitting up lots and lots of monsters in that process. So they're all being released as individual, monsters supporting, D20, fantasy standard role playing. So in the latest set that's just about to come out in a couple of days, there's an absolutely fantastic red dragon with big, beefy roars and this horrendous breath weapon. And I've done sort of ghouls and ghasts and ogres and hill giants and stone giants and kobolds and all sorts of things, and there was obviously goblin attack too, because that's kind of central to Pathfinder. So yeah, it's been really, really exciting and wonderful. One of the best things about Paizo is the amount of input they have into their content and into their third-party publishers. They're really full on about making it sound, just like they imagined, or making it work. So we back and forth with the sounds. I upload a new version of it. They all get together and listen to it, and I'm getting feedback that ranges from "Wow, that's fantastic" to "Yeah, no, that's not how it sounds at all," which is really, really fantastic.
What does an owl bear sound like?
Can I tell you a funny story? I had an actual, one of my own home videos of an actual cougar. There's a cougar that appears. Sorry, spoilers. It's not a massive spoiler. I actually had an actual home video at the zoo of a cougar. And when I was, breaking it up and setting it up as a sound set and uploading, I was just thinking, they're going to complain about this. They're absolutely going to complain about this, because I don't exaggerate it. It really did sound just like this. And the feedback just came back, that sounds like the worst impression of a cougar we've ever heard. I'm like, it was an actual real cougar. They thought I'd just done some really bad voice acting. So I had to kind of, and it's often the case with sound design, you have to find something that sounds more like what people think things sound like. Punches are a fantastic example. A punch sounds like this, which is almost nothing, almost inaudible. But a movie punch has this sort of, and it has kind of this squelch sound and a bit of a crunch. And it's really, really been very, very fun to work in that field.
Yeah, I've read that bears bark. They don't roar, but when you picture a bear, like, that's a big roaring creature. And so if I get a bear sound effect and it's like, huff, that's not a bear to me, even if it's a bear to nature.
Yeah, that's right. I've just done the dire bears, so I needed some very specific moments from one particular breed of bear to get the right sound that you need to imagine a bear growling. And in fact, I just did a woolly mammoth, which was very fun as well, which I kind of had to just completely imagine myself. And of course, in fantasy, we have a lot of freedom to do that, which is really cool.
So let's latch on to that as an example. You have a dire bear, so we know what bears sound like. How did you sprinkle dire all over it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. There's a couple of really important things you need to do. You need to, number one, pitch shift down in general. So you're taking your kind of, and making, so just slowing down the recording, either using a function that lowers the pitch without slowing down the recording, or one that literally just stretches the tape. You're also doing a couple of things like formant shifting. The human voice, for instance, carries because of a certain ring in the human voice that we resonate inside our mouth, and there's software that can actually shift the sound of that ring down, which essentially has the effect of making the larynx of whatever animal or creature is making that sound, make that larynx bigger. And the ear picks it up straight away. You think that's a really, really big bear. The other thing you need to do with monsters is to usually create some sort of disgusting sort of throat noises or gurgle sounds, and I usually do most of those myself, getting close and lovely with the microphone and my saliva.
Well, you've been teasing us about these sounds for a little while. Is there any that we can play for our listeners?
I've just got to show you. I've got to show you the Red Dragon roars. I've got them here on my tablet. So yeah, I was thinking Red Dragon, and so here's. I'll make sure it's working. Here we are. Here's a. Oh yeah, so that's a nice little growl of a red dragon. And here's one of the roars. Well, yeah, I'm just hitting the one-shot sound. These sounds will be set off automatically while you're fighting the red dragon, but you can also pull them up individually as well. And so the red dragon roar is not the same roar every single time, which would absolutely drive you balmy. But balmy, can I use that word? Is that an Australianism?
Sure. No, it's an Australianism, but I think I get it.
It'd make you feel disturbed in a mental way. And this is my favorite. This dragon breath weapon is really great. Oh, no. Oh, yeah. I don't know how that's going down the poor little microphone, through to Google Hangouts, but hopefully you're hearing something. So listen to this roar. Okay, and that is actually me. That's literally the recording starts with me going. Okay, and you can hear my larynx is a lot smaller than the red dragon's larynx. So it's pitch shifted down. It's affected in terms of what frequencies are highlighted. I usually do about, say, 40 of them. About 20 of them are sort of all right, and about sort of 15 or so of them are really, really great and get the full treatment, and then they get imported into Syrinscape. So when you're fighting the red dragon, where are we? I'm gonna go red dragonfire here. Oh yeah. So you can hear there's also music in there. Fantastic. So there's people screaming, howling. There's also hill giants in that encounter, without too many spoilers, who are hurling huge stones. I made the sounds of tiles being smashed off the roofs of houses by actually throwing things at Lego, which was very, very cool, and recording. And once again, pitch shifting down and manipulating it to make those little clicks and clanks, which are the Lego sounds, into great big thuds and crashes and explosions. So yeah, lots and lots of fun.
Instead of going to Home Depot and buying a bunch of tiles and just smashing them, throwing them into something that already makes a smashing and scattering sound.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. And it's about the aural effect as well. Even perhaps the sounds of tile smashing wouldn't be what we'd necessarily expect them to sound like. For a good example is this. Where are we? We've got. It's on the other one. I'll tell you about the arrow strike sound. So I made my arrow strike sounds by just banging on my desk, dunk, by swooshing a stick past a microphone, which gives you the whoosh of it flying in, and then the as it strikes the wood, actually having an actual ruler off the edge of a desk and going, so you go whoosh, I don't actually have it available at the moment to play, but that's lots of fun doing those sorts of things as well. And the armor Foley, the sound of rustling armor for the hill giants. I got my a big bag which had all sort of hessian-y bits, but also had lots of little metal hanging off dangly bits, and I just literally shook that in front of the microphone. And once again, you do kind of maybe 15 different versions of shake, and then Syrinscape picks them up in a random order and distributes them in the surround spectrum at random timings and random distances, and so you just get the effect that you want without any obvious repetition. But I could talk. You better stop me talking about Foley, because I could talk about Foley all day. The art of making sounds.
Then I want to talk about a different kind of making the sound surround. I started using Syrinscape at my table for the first couple of Runelord sessions, but the problem we encountered was that the computer I was playing it on was right next to me. So if I played it at a volume that the sound was good for me, people at the opposite end of the table couldn't hear it. If I played it loud enough for them, then I was drowning myself out as the GM.
Yeah.
So how should I set up my table to optimize the Syrinscape experience?
That's a great question. You need a speaker at least as big as this for those who are on YouTube, and for those who are not, it's a Logitech boombox. You need something of reasonable size so it can cope especially with the really lovely bass sounds and give you a nice warm effect. Just playing from your laptop speakers is not going to work particularly well. The next step you can go up is... Yeah, that's right. Is this sort of thing, which is the Marley bag of rhythm, which is really, really fantastic. So once you've got a speaker that big, then you need to have the speaker relatively equidistant from everyone at the table. So if the speaker is twice as close to you, Ryan, as it is to the person on the other end of the table, the sound will be just twice as loud. That's what sound does. So whereas if there's only sort of a small variation in that distance, you can get away with it. We often put a speaker... when I'm not at home, we put it just underneath the table, pointing at like the hardest wall, and that way the sound actually spreads out, bounces off walls, and by the time it gets back to the players, it's quite sort of softened off, there's no hard edges, and everyone can hear. Also, what that does is it separates the sound orally in 3D space from the voices, and that's really, really important, because human ears have all sorts of fantastic position processing. We can actually filter out sounds by location, and we can focus in on a particular phase sort of variance on what timing your voice is getting to my left ear and my right ear, and we can actually listen and highlight that sound. So in a room, as long as the sound source of Syrinscape is not right next to your voice, it should be really, really easy to hear your voice. What I do, of course, is I go at the HDMI cable of my laptop into my surround system, and I'm playing them. I'm projecting the maps onto my table as well. From my laptop, but so I've got surround speakers which are all distributed around the ceiling and sort of far away from us, and that of course immerses us completely and allows me to make sounds coming out of the back rear speaker when they just look down to level 2 and decide that maybe they'd better go back and be barbers or something. So yeah, there's a few options, but the most important thing is to have a decent speaker and to not have it next to the GM or near any one of the players, because that'll make it hard to hear.
Now, of the 2 speakers you showed us, what's an approximate price of those?
Yeah, so the kind of something about this size is about you definitely want to spend more than say $70, I reckon. I think if you spend $20, you're going to get something that sounds horrendous and is annoying and sort of sounds like that. The bag of rhythm is much bigger, and I think it was about $200, and it's actually a sort of exceptional quality. It's also made of wood and stuff to be trendy and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think as long as you get up near $100, then you're getting sound that's going to give you some sort of good result.
Okay, I usually only spend $5 on speakers.
Just might be a problem there, I reckon.
Yeah. Now see here,
one of the advantages of my table is that we've got an elevated battle platform. So the battle mat plays on a table above our table. So I'm probably just going to slide a speaker directly under that. Do I have to worry about any kind of echoing?
No, it'll all echo around. It'll sort of blend in. The only problems you get with echoes in audio is if you have a big distance to a great big uniformly flat wall, and then you can get quite a clear echo. Boom, 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 boom. At the speed of sound over that distance. So no, you're not going to. Any sort of echoing or bouncing around will actually make the sound softer and nicer and sort of blur it together.
Now see here, I was expecting when I saw this on the thing, like instructions on like bolting speakers to the undersides of tables and.
I want speakers underneath individual players' chairs so I can sort of go. Whoa!
Bass turned all the way up.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, I guess I'm trying to think of what else people would need to know. Speakers, if they're pointing into something really soft, will lose all the high frequency. It'll sound like that. So you don't want to kind of do that. And I think that's about it. I think spend a little bit of money on some speakers, or just drag your nice radio sort of player thingy in and plug into it. I like these 2 devices that I showed and talked about because they're both Bluetooth. So I don't have to have cables running around the place. I can have Syrinscape just sitting on an iPad or an Android tab. It stays in the foreground the entire time, so I'm not having to turn the iPad on and sort of navigate around to it to find it again. Sometimes people ask that it should be able to play in the background, which, as some people who develop apps might know, is a really, really hard push with Apple in particular, allowing something to play in the background if it's not just a music player. So at the moment we've given in and said that's fine. It only plays if it sits there in the foreground. As long as your brightness isn't up too brightly, it lasts easily all the time. So if you want to have your PDFs and other things, then you just need to give one device over to Syrinscape. But as I said, that's really good because it's just there sitting on the table. You can reach over with a single touch change. And we don't want to be turning, we're playing a social game here. We don't want to be turning the eyes of the GM off the players.
Yeah, there's already enough looking at screens around the average gaming table now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not at mine!
Yay!
Well, except the one screen that is the player that has to Skype in. We look at that.
Oh, wow, you can do that.
Yeah.
Does that work well for you?
It has. We've had to adapt. In fact, I'll scoot back. Wrong way. That laptop sitting at the head of the table is the player station, and originally we did it because one of our players had an injury and was having difficulty actually making it to the game site, and now it has become the I can't make it, but I can dial in screen.
Yeah. Cool. And what's the biggest issue? Sort of finding time to talk, is that right? I mean, getting him access to actually being able to say something, is that the biggest challenge?
No. I mean, once we Skype him in, he's just we hook him up to the sound speakers. We put a nice big webcam pointing down at the battle mat, and it's just like he's sitting in a chair.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I've never been brave enough to try that yet. Maybe I'll have to.
I have to trust his dice rolls, though.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, there's certain players I could trust, and certain other ones I definitely couldn't.
Yeah, actually, just a couple of weeks ago, I ran a game I played in a game. It was 2 live players and a live GM, and 3 people remoting in. And
Wow.
it's so easy to make a nice smooth, like through a Google Hangout.
Yeah.
You almost forget that they're not in the same room. In fact, the GM sometimes has to realize he has to describe things because there's only so much the camera will show them. Because it just feels like a room full of gamers.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic to hear. That's great. And yeah, and being able to see people's faces, I think, on the Google Hangouts is great. And the fact they pop up into the foreground, that's cool.
So let's talk about atmosphere. You've talked about how you've got all these cool different sound sets, but how do I, as the GM, know which sound sets to use and how to change them on the fly to create certain atmospheres and tone to my game?
Absolutely. So we have various different sound sets which are pretty much split into either locations or encounters. So the locations are literally called the Glassworks, or medieval town, or icy wasteland. And so if you're going to play in one of those locations, then you just go to icy wasteland and then you select a mood. Syrinscape has the very left-hand column is where it'll say icy wasteland or whatever, and then the next column is the mood, and that's various different modes of being in that icy wasteland. So maybe you're actually in a cave and you can hear the wind howling outside, and you can hear a bit of sort of coldness, and then maybe you're actually out in the cold, so the wind's a lot louder, and there's some crunching noises as your feet sort of stagger through the snow. And then there are different modes where you can turn on monsters that are somewhere in the distance and they want to come and tear your face off. So that's all you really do. You just choose the location you're in, if it's icy wasteland, and then you pick what the mood is. Or same with the medieval town. Is it medieval town? Yes. Is it setting up for morning trade, or is it really, really busy in the market? And that's it. And then Syrinscape will just go and run in the background. As Ryan said, you can then customize that a little bit if you want to. So you can, turn the dogs up, or turn the hawkers down, or whatever you like. So especially if there's something you don't that isn't relevant to the location, you just turn it off. You can save that as a preset for use, later on in the game. So you can actually do that in advance, or you can just do it right on the spot. So that's the locations, and that's literally 2 clicks. You choose the location you want, you pick the mood, and maybe you touch it every now and then to set off a one-shot sound like a cart going past or a donkey braying. And then there's monsters. And if you're going to be fighting ogres, you go to the ogre battle sound set, click, and you just hit ogres attack, and then the ogres are attacking. And one of them will shout a war cry, and some thudding music will start, and there'll be the sounds of clashing swords. And then if, say, someone casts a fireball, then, once again, you might look at the app then and touch the fireball, and it'll go and everyone will scream. The Wilhelm scream is always available to me as a GM. It's an essential sound. If you don't know the Wilhelm scream, go and Google it. It's the one that goes, ah, which is a terrible impression. So really, you just read the name of the sound set, bring it up, and hit go, and that's all you have to do. The spooky forest sound sets have really atmospheric, slow, backgroundy, slightly disturbing music, and the battle sets have thudding drums and honking horns.
Now, you talked earlier about the Syrinscape Soundset Creator that's coming out next year.
Absolutely.
Sounds appealing, but how does it work?
Yeah, so the original version of Syrinscape, you could just actually dump your sounds into and then sort of just cobble them together in a certain order, and it would run them all. The next version we made is even more powerful and has lots of parameters attached to each of the sort of groups of sounds. So as I mentioned, position control, really, really accurate frequency control, volume control, all reverberation settings. So that you actually, when I bring a sound like a dragon roar into a dungeon, I don't actually need to add the reverb, the echo to that sound. I just do the roar, rah, pitch shift it down and process it with my genius. And then if it's in a dungeon sound, it'll be really echoey, like there's a stone giant, a sort of stone dungeon. And so when we rebuilt Syrinscape, the first thing we released is the player, and then the next logical step, which we've been working really, really hard on, and people have been asking for, thank you, is the creator, and that will put the ability for people to make their own sound sets back out there. So in January we will be releasing the public beta. So we've been in beta at the moment, and we've had lots of people using it and thrashing it, and it's working really, really well. And we've been finding lots of corners to make it explode and the wheels fall off, and they've pretty much stopped. And now what we're working on is just the prettiness, and prettiness is very important to me. Obviously it adds to the mood. So in January the public beta will come out, and everyone will be able to get their hands on that. And what that will mean is that you'll be able to take the content we've had. You'll be able to take maybe the goblin battle sound set where the goblins are all attacking, and you'll be able to delete all the goblin sounds because you reckon you're far better at them than I am, which is always possible, I guess. And then record all your own goblin sounds and chuck them in, and then boom, they'll be running in Syrinscape. You'll be able to delete my music and pull music from computer games that you own, rip them off, convert them into the right format, chuck them in Syrinscape, and suddenly you'll be able to run Syrinscape with that computer game music. You'll be able to
have copyright to all this music, of course.
If you're going to use it for private purposes and you own the game, then I think I'm absolutely fine with that. What you'll also be able to do is, we can't supply it to you, obviously, but you can, so that's why we're letting you do it. What you can also do is just build sound sets from scratch. Now I've got so many requests, so many locations I need to do which I haven't got to yet. A great big cathedral where you can go to get someone resurrected after they get eaten by the red dragon that I made. And I just haven't got to that. A jungle sound, a swamp sound. We're bringing out lots of content, obviously, but what I'm able to now do is actually put it out there for people to build this stuff themselves. And what's really exciting for me is that we're going to have a community sharing server where people will be able to propose content as something that's worth sharing. We'll vet it for quality, and yes, copyright violations, absolutely. And then everyone who's a Syrinscape Soundset creator will be able to actually share all that content. So we'll be able to have a red dragon on a Tuesday, a green dragon on a Wednesday, and a white dragon with a toothache. All the different variations and versions of these sounds. And hopefully, people are really, really raring to go to build lots and lots of awesome content, which I'm very excited about.
Now, this excites me because if anybody, I'm going to compare your tool to something like Campaign Cartographer or other tools, software tools that get used that are very useful and very nice and professional. And the stuff that you buy and get with Campaign Cartographer is awesome, but a lot of the people that know the software knows that you don't really get the value out of that until you go to the community forums and see that 10 times that much stuff is available to download on there.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. So I'm thinking of Dungenie. I mean, did you guys ever encounter that?
I miss Dungenie so much.
Yeah, I really, really loved Dungenie, and that was exactly the same experience for me. You get the wonderful machine that they built and all the basic stuff that you need, and then there's just a universe of community discussion about how to make really fantastic stuff and how to get it really working. So that's the sort of model we're going on, and I'm really, really excited about it. I believe you had some questions, Ryan, about how one would, prepare samples for Syrinscape Soundset Creator.
Did. So let's say I wanted to make my own sound set. How would I go about doing that?
We've been talking a few times, haven't we, Ryan, about you making a gnome sound set with gnomes destroying things.
I made the mistake of announcing that it was coming, and now I don't know what kind of anticipation there is, but it's been a little bit stalled on our front. So let's get this discussion out of the way on the air. How are we supposed to do this?
So people out there who are interested in making their sound sets, including Ryan, what you can do at the moment is be preparing your samples. So what you're going to need, obviously, for your gnomes is giggling and hurling insults. And that's right. Oh, yeah, I can't wait to hear it. And so let's talk about that. So for the giggles, you're going to want to set yourself up and record, as I said, about 20 or 30 giggles of all different kinds. Then you're going to go through with maybe Acid or another piece of free software, or I suspect you guys might have some kind of decent sound editing software. And you're going to want to cut each of those... Audition, fantastic. You're going to want to cut each of those giggles out individually as an individual short wave file at CD quality, 16-bit and 44.1 kilohertz. We'll actually have an importer that can import absolutely everything, but the first version won't have that. And so you just going to have a 2-second recording of you going, hee hee hee. You're going to want to take the recording, you fade in just at the last moment before the giggle starts, and you probably fade out maybe across a tiny bit of the end of the giggle and then to silence immediately after that, so you don't hear any noise starting or stopping. You make sure the giggles are all normalized up to full volume, and then you end up with 15 sounds of gnomes giggling. You put those in a directory ready to import. You also record 15 versions of gnomes hurling insults about how people with stupidly long legs are inadequate, or some other sort of terrible bits of
People with stupidly long legs are inadequate.
and you record. That's right. That'll be, everyone will be saying it. You record 15 of those. Then maybe you want to have the sound of fire because the gnomes have set the town on fire or whatever. You can then go. You don't want to light your house, obviously, so you go to freesound.org and you'll find a lot. You type in, building burning or something like that, and you find a recording that someone made of their fireplace. They've amped it up a bit. They've made that available Creative Commons with attribution. So you take that recording, you note down where it's from. I usually preserve it in the file name, so you can give credit to that person when you use it, which I really, really love, being able to do that. You take that, you chop off the beginning, you chop off the end, so you've just got the sound of burning building, and then Syrinscape will do all the fading, cross-fading, looping, and all that sort of business for you. So you essentially got two sorts of things. You've got individual little moments of gnomeness, smashing furniture, chinking gnome weapons, insults, laughs. Maybe you're planning to have a version where the gnomes are getting hurt, so you record some gnome thing. Oh, yeah, and then you have some loops, which are kind of going to be the sound of buildings burning or the sound, those sorts of things. And you've got all your samples ready, and then when the creator comes out in January, you watch my fantastically clear and concise tutorial videos, which we're going to release, which will show you how to then just chuck them all in, create the ambience, and Syrinscape will run all that. Did I make that at all clear?
You made it perfectly clear, and your enthusiasm made it even fun to listen to.
Yay! That's great. So just get those samples ready, and then you'll be able to build in January, which is very cool.
Excellent. All right, sometime this weekend, I'm going to put aside. What do you think? An hour? 2 hours?
Yeah, I mean, you can do. I often just, even when I'm halfway through doing a sound set, 15 minutes just to record some new sounds. But yeah, to cut them down and to edit them, definitely an hour or two.
And there's also been a lot of demand for a Chimera sound set from me, so maybe I'll just go crazy and make 100 sound sets for you.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds cool.
Now that I've made one promise, why not make 100 promises?
That's right. I would like everyone to note out there that I've said January multiple times with the beta, and it's 87% sure that the public release will come in January and not February, but there's a definite chunk of time, as anyone who's developed software, a chunk of possibility it'll be February, and everyone went,
You said January.
That's another gnome taunt, I'm sure.
You said January? They're always expecting things in January. No.
That's right.
No, you promised us 30 minutes of your time. We're on our 40th minute right now. So can we get to a couple of questions from the audience, and then I guess we'll have to let you go?
Yeah, great.
All right. Venka Thalma says, do you have a slap the bard sound?
Slap the bard!
Slap the bard.
That is fantastic. We have all sorts of fantastic, fists contacting faces sounds, absolutely. We have slam attacks of giant size, and we have, you're going to want to look in Tavern Brawl for that. There's sounds of smashing plates over bards' heads, I guess, and fists hitting them and all sorts of things. So yes, definitely.
Well, I feel like a bard getting slapped sounds like a regular slap, but more pretentious.
That's right. Oh!
The insult. Bastille Lungburros asks, or actually he says first, he can see a sound set creating competition.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we have all sorts of wacky ideas of what to do, including crowdsourcing sound sets, which we'll talk about maybe in 2015. The whole community coming together and contributing to some great big crowd scene. And yeah, absolutely. Probably highlighting content that people have made as particularly high quality and promoting it. And yeah, there's lots of fun stuff we could have.
And Bastille says, do you have any tips for taking care of your voice? Yeah, it sounds like he's worried about you after 20 or 30 growls.
Yes. No, absolutely. should hydrate well. This is actually quite serious because if you spend 20 minutes screaming in a microphone, you do hurt your voice. So the way to avoid any permanent damage is to hydrate well, to get make sure you're sleeping well, but also the most important thing is to have silence. So if you're going to thrash your voice for 20 minutes, just make sure you give yourself another 20 minutes, absolute silence after that, and you'll be completely fine, I'm sure.
Excellent. Well, Ben, you've got a couple of minutes if you want to promote anything that's coming out. I know you've got some new subscription plans coming up for Syrinscape.
Yes, we've had a subscription plan for the fantasy player for quite a while now. You can buy the individual content, but if you subscribe, the whole back catalogue unlocks for you, so you don't actually have to purchase any of that, and it's all working for you. And then everything that comes out while you're a subscriber, you own permanently, and you get something like a 40% discount on the release prices of those. So that's definitely the way to do it. And then we have just scheduled in 2 sci-fi sound sets for every single month of 2015. If you go to Syrinscape.com and look for our release schedule, you'll see all those. So there'll be a subscription for those as well, but then we're going to have a $10 per month subscription, which will actually cover absolutely everything, including access to the Soundset Creator and all our content to make your own, and access to the server to upload and download and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, subscription's the way to go, certainly, and the bigger the back catalogue gets, the more worthwhile it's going to be to have all that available. And it's really important when you're playing, as you all know, to not have to try and plan ahead exactly what's going to happen, but just to be able to say, oh, we've turned up in a flooded cavern for some random reason because someone thought that, and you just go through the flooded cavern. If you only own 7 of the sound sets, you're really going to make life a bit difficult for you. So we wanted people not to miss out on anything, so that's why we've done a subscription.
Now, also on a similar note, you've put together something special for our viewers and listeners.
Yes, No Direction. If you can spell No Direction, go to our homepage, and if you're already registered, just hit the voucher link, which is up in the top right-hand corner. Or if you need to register first, just register with your email password combination, which is what you'll be logging into the app when you download it. And then click on voucher right there, and type in No Direction, uppercase or lowercase, doesn't matter. And you will actually get Attack on Sandpoint, which is the #1 Pathfinder Adventure Path Paizo sound set. And you'll be able to hear the Goblin song, sung horrendously by a whole host of goblins that I got into the studio to sing for me. I did actually have to rebuild the studio, thank you goblins, after they were there. And you'll be able to hear them wreaking havoc, smashing stuff, and that's one of the sound sets I'm most proud of. And with that, you can actually play the beginning of the Rise of the Rune Lords with what Paizo thinks is how you should be playing it, with all the sounds absolutely completely activated. And that way you'll be able to hear what we've been talking about. You download the app for free. It comes with 2 sound sets for free. Just follow the download link on our website. And then, if you chuck in that voucher code, you get a 3rd one. You can give it a great big try and see how it works at the table.
Awesome. Now I'm just going to pitch an idea to you, because all this talk about you getting goblins into sound studios and creeping up on cougars to get recordings of them. You ever consider an adventure where the PCs have to escort a sound collector with a microphonic memory who just wants to hear all these monsters?
That is fantastic. It's like
into a quest giver and escort mission.
And recklessly leaning over the edge of sort of lava pits to get the right sort of bubbling sound.
Make the red dragon breathe fire now.
That's right.
Perfect.
So it's like a Pathfinder, but not for knowledge, but for sound. That is so cool. Why did I not think of this? Can you not tell any of my players? Players, you're not meant to have heard that, because I'm going to make that adventure. That is so cool. I would be the worst person to try and keep safe if monsters were actually real.
Thank you for joining us, Ben. Where can people find Syrinscape and find out more about you?
Yep, so Syrinscape.com, Syrinscape. Just type it into Google. You can even misspell it, and you'll have everything that you need on the page. I'm always available on benjamin@Syrinscape.com, which you can find that email address on the website, and just ask me questions and pummel me with suggestions. The only reason the Icy Wasteland Sunset got done is because someone whinged so many times that I had to actually give them what they wanted, and that was great, so thank you. Yeah, and jump on Facebook and Twitter and say hi, and that was really good. And we're all looking very much forward, Ryan, to the Gnome set and the Chimera set and all the other ones you promised as well.
We're gonna have a whole set dedicated to the Earthak.
Woohoo!
Excellent. All right, thank you very much, Ben. This was a lot of fun. We'll be right back after this.
Lovely. Thanks a lot.
All right, so we're in the gutter between segments right now. Is there anything you wanted to go back and record, or are you happy?
No, I'm really happy with that. That's great. We obviously didn't give any love to the Dice Stormers, but maybe you can just say that at the end or something.
Dice Stormers. There.
Yeah, we'll throw that in the shout-outs.
Cool.
Yeah, throw them the shout-outs. Say, make sure you check out Ben. You know, you can actually see him GMing with Syrinscape and, you know, see what it is. They don't take the playing very seriously, but they're very entertaining, kind of that sort of thing.
Oh, actually, I forgot to ask, are you going to be at any cons this year?
Yeah, I'll be at PaizoCon and UK Games Expo and Gen Con and PAX Oz, and then we're looking at another couple of ones at the moment. So yeah, I love it when people come and shake my hand. It's fantastic.
Are you gonna ever not be at cons this year?
there are lots of cons, and I love them so much, and I love not sleeping pretty much and just playing continually and talking, 20 hours a day. It's great. Yeah, we're really at a point where we're about, product awareness for our customers and just getting the word out there, because everyone who encounters this Syrinscape just goes, holy cow, that's fantastic. Why didn't I know about that already? So that's where we are at the moment. So I'm getting out as much as possible. Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, I expect to see you at PaizoCon. I'm going to have to make sure that my schedule works out, but I'll definitely be at Gen Con. I'll be a lot busier. At some point, I'll try and shake your hand.
Absolutely. Even play together would be lovely.
Oh, that would be great. Actually, we never really brought up, but the demo that you ran at PaizoCon last year was really cool. The shop area.
Oh yeah, the dungeon delve. That was fun. Yeah. Let's do that. Let's do just even a half-hour game and record it and put it up on the Dice Stormers or something like that. That would be really fun. Cool. Yeah.
You did. My favorite thing that was like, this is how this could be done, is when you did the special live with.
That's fun. I mean, the special has big problems because it's such a big room, and it's hard enough to hear already. So you don't want to kind of overlay people. But in the end, I found that if you stick to really deep bass and really, really high treble, you're not in that mid-range where the human voice sits, and I think it was actually quite effective and lots of fun. But you always just get people saying, make it louder, and other people going, make it softer, make it softer. There was one little girl GM there who had a microphone on herself, because her voice was tiny, obviously, being only 5 feet tall, 4 feet tall or whatever. And so, yeah, she had a little microphone on her and a little speaker right next to her, and that fixed it up for her. So, but they're great. I love the specials.
Ryan, why have we never thought of that?
Well, I've seen that. I don't need my voice can project across a room.
Yeah, I don't have a problem. My voice is annoying and piercing.
But yeah, I've seen the little personal microphone or setting up a speaker in the middle of the table. It works if you need it.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Lovely.
All right, cool. We're going to carry on the episode, but thanks for joining us, Ben.
How do I exit? You're going to just boot me?
You can hit the, looks like a
red thing. Yeah, I see. Yeah. It's so lovely. I've listened to you guys since pretty much the beginning, certainly since the beginning of No Direction, that's for sure. I know ages before that, and I've always loved your podcast, and you guys do a great service to the community, so thank you so much.
Well, thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
See ya. Bye. Later. Bye. Bye.
So, Param, just to warn you, I think I've only got about 10 minutes left in me tonight. I'm really not feeling that great right now.
Okay, so
do you want to hold out on reviews until next episode, and we'll just talk? I feel like we have to talk about RPG Superstar, but
yeah, let's hit the RPG Superstar. Then we'll do. Okay, let's hit all 3 news items real quick. Just like, hey, these exist. Go learn, find out about it, and then we'll skip the reviews. Though you're gonna need to hear about your Resident Evil, because I'm jealous because you got all these toys that I didn't get to use. I was like, you've got freaking a soundtrack.
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
And then we will do wrap-ups and shout-outs. So let's just make it one continuous, uninterrupted thing.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. You ready to go?
Yes.
Cool. Oh, I've lost you. I've lost your camera.
What?
I don't see you. I just see the No Direction logo pulsating.
It might be your internet.
Oh, it's me? Ooh, okay.
I see you just fine. I'm going to check before we go into actually something, people need to see. I'm going to go see what it looks like on Google.
Yeah, good call.
Okay, I see me ranting right now because there's a 3-minute delay. And it's all looks good, guys. Oh, and I still see me, so
yeah,
we're good.
I see you too.
Awesome! Sorry, I'm overly energetic tonight.
No problem. I wish I could keep up with you.
All right. So let's do this. Had to
All right,
boot
cool.
engine, kitty.
Starting the news segment in 3, 2, 1. In the Pathfinder news segment, we talk about all the latest happenings for the Pathfinder role-playing game of interest to Pathfinder enthusiasts. And, in this case, Pathfinder enthusiasts with dreams of maybe one day being part of the Paizo staff, working on Pathfinder itself. RPG Superstar is upon us, Param.
RPG Superstar! Also known as reality shows that we actually care about. I love RPG Superstar.
RPG Idol and various other things, but RPG Superstar is our little competition where we get to watch just hundreds and thousands of would-be RPG game designers submit to Paizo. They get narrowed down to 32, then 16, then 8, then 4, until finally we only have one, RPG Superstar 2015, and they get to write a module, a Pathfinder module, 64 pages now, unlike when this competition began. This is the 8th RPG Superstar.
Good grief. This definitely predates. Yeah, I keep thinking of RPG Superstar as like the Pathfinder contest, but it predates Pathfinder.
The first year was 3.5. Maybe the second year, too.
Yeah, I mean, the first year predates, like, before Pathfinder was really a thing.
Yep. And then the second year, I believe Pathfinder was still in alpha or beta. Don't remember which rule set they used for the competition. But in any case, yeah, RPG Superstar has been around for quite a while, and it's produced some really great and really notorious freelancers. Neil Spicer came out of RPG Superstar, Mike Wellham, Victoria, how did she pronounce her name? Yatsko? I'm going to say Yatsko, and she'll correct me if I'm wrong again. Yeah, she won last year, and even people that were runners-up, like Rob McCreary, not only got regular work from Paizo, but actually became a part of the Paizo staff. So RPG Superstar is clearly a great way. It's a great path into getting noticed by Pathfinder staff and by Pathfinder readers. And even the people that don't win the competition, if you're in there, if you get narrowed down to top 32, top 16, like that is something you can put on your resume, and that is something very rare and prestigious for any RPG game designer to have on their resume, to have that feather in their cap.
Yeah, exactly. And it is just a great behind the scenes on RPG development. I've learned more on how a product is built and made and how various aspects of the game are made by following this contest than I have anywhere else on the internet.
Now, there's a couple of changes that have been made this year.
Oh, always.
First of all, Mr. RPG Superstar was always Sean K. Reynolds for maybe not its first year, but at least for the last 5 or 6 years. Sean K. Reynolds was a major player. He was a major component of the entire competition. Last year, he was cast as host rather than chief judge, and shortly thereafter, Sean left the company. So this year, for the first time, we've got a new host, and that will be Owen K.C. Stevens, which makes a ton of sense. One, because Owen he's in charge of the Pathfinder modules line, so people that eventually get a Pathfinder module written, they're going to be coordinating with their developer right from the beginning of this competition. 2, Owen has an incredible resume. He has worked on just tons of material. I'm sure if you have a character in a Pathfinder role-playing game, you have some option that Owen wrote. Either in one of the hard covers, in one of the soft covers, third-party material. He does all of the Rogue Genius games, or almost all of the Rogue Genius games mechanics. He was a major designer for the Star Wars role-playing game, the Saga Edition. Like, Owen is a man who he bleeds the RPG industry, so he will be a very, very well-informed person to be acting as host. And I'm looking forward to seeing what some of his advice is, especially because we've still got Sean's advice. It's still archived somewhere on the internet. And now we'll also have Owen adding his wisdom to this. So this will be really exciting, and we hope to have Owen on the show in the next few episodes just to discuss his approach to RPG Superstar as a host and to give any advice to any of the RPG Superstar contestants at the time, whenever we happen to have him. What's the other major change that's happened this year, Power?
Well, usually round one was always create a wondrous item because it was kooky and it was small word count and it really forced you to be creative. This time you're still making an item in the first round, but it's either a magic armor, a weapon, a ring, a rod, or a staff.
That's really interesting.
Weird.
I mean, it may sound a little bit broader than just a wondrous item, but a wondrous item could be anything. And a lot of the creativity came in what actual item do you make, how does what the item is tie into what the ability is, and we saw a lot of really creative items because of that. Whereas this is a very narrow, specific field, magic armor, of which there's only a few specific armors in the game. Most of the time you have armor magic properties, whereas I believe in this case you're designing a specific suit of armor. Same thing for weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Rings are really, rings are basically the most spell-in-a-can item in the game. So to be able to do something creative with a ring, that will take a lot of creativity.
Right.
Rods is probably where you have the most flexibility in this category. And staves, I don't think anyone is particularly excited about staves. Staves? I'm going to stick with staves. So the idea that you can actually challenge yourself and create a staff that does not overshadow any of the existing ones, but is also creative and something that people will actually want and will seek out for their characters. It really changes how you would approach the first round, and it kind of is unfortunate for anyone that spent the last year with a perfect idea for a wondrous item in mind, only to find out the day that the competition launches that whatever that wondrous item was no longer applies.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I like that they're changing things up a bit because, I mean, there's definitely some creative license out there for magic weapons, magic armors, and rods. But you're right, rings and staffs. I mean, staff is just a spell list. I mean, there's not much to it. I mean, I would laugh if they put magic wand on here. So I think for my wondrous item, I'm going to do channel demon. That's not a real spell.
Channel Demon?
I would love Channel Demon as a spell. Like, it doesn't actually summon the demon or anything. You get to just, like, summon a view to, like, just a random demon, and it's like the real world Beelzebub. But it would be, yeah. Oh, well, this would be cool. Changing things up. This means definitely the strategy's on. But there is a third thing you didn't mention that is different this year. And that is, you only have 7 days this time. You have almost no time to get this done. There are 50-50 odds that if you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, it's over. So get out there and get that done. Yeah, this wraps up December 16th, and the first, and they're going to end it in March. So this is going to be really quick.
Well, what I'm going to say then is anyone that plans on entering, have your idea done by tonight, have it written out tomorrow, edit it with a friend, and play test it a little bit the next day, and what does that put us, Saturday, Sunday?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, submit it by Monday. Take the weekend to play around with it a little bit and see who can break it.
Yeah, but if you submit it on Monday, then Tuesday's the deadline. Oh.
Yeah, well, I mean, don't wait till the last minute, but don't rush to be the first one, because you don't actually get any points for handing it in early.
Right.
So take the days you have, just don't linger.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure on Wednesday we're going to hear a lot of people that are saying, like, it happened so fast, it came and went. I mean, the Occult playtest was a month, and it felt like it came and went.
Yeah, I mean,
Superstar open call is going to be done before you know it.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, there's chances are it's done right now if you're hearing this.
I am going to recommend to anyone that is planning on entering. I just posted on NoDirectionPodcast.com a new news item. And it has a couple of really important links. One, it links to the RPG Superstar tag in our tag cloud. And I believe I caught every single seminar, every single podcast episode where we went into RPG Superstar, we interviewed somebody related to it, and an extra link for anyone that wants specific advice on designing magic armor, weapons, rings, rods, and staffs. There was a seminar at PaizoCon 2014 that we recorded about that, and it's full of members of the Paizo design staff and development staff. So, yeah, just to brush up on what goes into being an RPG superstar, I recommend that you check us out. We are a resource for you. We've got some blog interviews. We've got some podcast versions of the interviews. You've got a lot of opportunities to read up and listen to stuff about RPG Superstar, because we've been fans of RPG Superstar since the beginning. So we've been covering it for almost a decade. Wow. That's kind of weird. Param, your microphone is muted, and I still can't see you.
Oh, sorry. I was typing in an announcement that we forgot about. Real quick, because we don't have a lot of time. Besides that, there was several newsy things that happened. First is that Pathfinder has partnered with Battle Foam in the least expected official partnership I ever expected. To make, if you guys don't know about Battle Foam, they make awesome miniature cases. So if you're a war gamer, you pretty much probably know about these guys. They are on the pricey side, and one of the cool things they do is they do custom foam trays to fit figures for the company. So like if you play a lot of Warhammer, they have one that's exactly the shape of that tank, so it exactly fits in there for the foam to protect it. So evidently they're going to be doing some for the Pathfinder miniatures, which is kind of cool, but kind of completely random. It's a good thing, but I didn't expect it. Following that up, we finally have final photos of the iconic hero sets that have been actually painted and the details and stuff. They look pretty good. They don't look as good as the 3D of them, but they look pretty good. And it's for the physical figures, Iroh, Seone, Sajan, and so on. You can see that up on the Paizo blog. If the Paizo blog's up right now, and I don't know if it is or not. Okay. They had power outage, and that's bad. And the final thing that got announced was the new Pathfinder Comics series. So evidently it is going to continue past City of Secrets, but it's going to go backwards in that they're telling the origin stories of the Iconics, and Eric Mona will be writing 2 of those.
Eric Mona will be writing 2, F. Wesley Snyder will be writing 2, and James Sutter will be writing 2.
Okay, awesome. That's great. It looks like they're pairing a couple of Iconics together for each of the sets. The first one is going to be Valros and Amiri. Yes, yep. Amiri. Valros and Amiri. And then the rest of them I don't know because the website's down and I don't know it.
I'm trying to load up because I posted, there we go, there was a news item on December 2nd where we talked about this. So some of the team-ups we know. We know Ezra and Lem. We know Seone and Celtiel the Magus. We know Mauricial and Sejan. The Seone Celtiel one will be written by Wes. Mauricial and Sejan will be written by Sutter. And so we don't know about 2 of the team-ups, but the 4 people that are left are Kira the Cleric, Linny the Druid, Sela the Paladin, and Harsk the Ranger. So just based on the fact that all of the team-ups are kind of thematic, so Ezra and Lem are the arcane duo, Seone and Celtiel, actually that's another arcane duo, Mauricial and Sejan are kind of the sneaky, hands-on duo, and Valeros and Amiri are the beefy, violent duo. I think it's safe to say that we'll see Kira teaming up with Sela and be the divine duo, whereas Lini will team up with Harsk, and they will be the nature duo. Actually, I meant to look this up. I know Lini is the only Iconic outside of the main 6 that's shown up in the comic. Does Harsk and Lini, do they have a moment of recognition when she shows up?
I don't remember. That's been a long time ago. I just remember
Seone reacting and saying, like, well, aren't you the cutest or something?
I don't know. I'm sorry. But I will say that we did get to see the covers for the first one, and of course there's the spoof cover that's the Paizo exclusive one, and I got a little bit of giggles on that, because everybody has done the Days of Future Past cover mock-ups before for various things. One of my favorites is the Game of Thrones one that got done by, I forget the artist, but it's a cool poster I ordered a print of. And one of the cool things on this one is, it's not Valros playing Wolverine's part, it's Amiri.
Yeah, and they made her hair just gigantic and wild too, which is nice. And what I like is, in the poster in the background, instead of just saying dead or apprehended like the X-Men cover, it says bleeding, dying, stunned, dead. Like it's the conditions from the game that have been written on their faces.
Now I want to get stamps and just go to my players when you're stunned. Alrighty, guys. And that's the news and that we got. We'll be right back with the wrap-ups and shout-outs.
I don't have anything to shout out to. We got Dice Stormers.
So let's shout out to Dice Stormers.
All right, cool. Are you ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. Thank you for joining us for episode 97 of No Direction, the Pathfinder News, Reviews, and Interviews podcast. I will apologize and take the responsibility for this being kind of a truncated episode. I'm not feeling great right now, so we're going to have to call this one early. But we will be back in a couple of weeks for our end-of-year episode. Oh, wait a second. A couple of weeks would be the 24th of December. Well, that doesn't work. That's my brother's birthday.
We're going to have to be flexible on that somehow.
Yeah. Keep an eye on our Facebook page. We will probably record either on the 17th, which is next Wednesday, possibly the 18th or the 23rd. Yeah, Paramount. We're going to have to discuss this and discuss with any potential guests when they're available. We have a couple of guests in mind, so we'll see about that and see who we can corral for our last episode of the year. But hopefully I'll be up for making it an extra long episode to make up for the stuff that's been dumped from this episode and to give a proper send-off to 2014, which was kind of a cool year for Pathfinders. We got to see a lot of stuff that we had been waiting for a long time. We got a lot of cool announcements, which we'll all get into next episode. But before we go, we'll thank Benjamin Looms, once again, of the creative director of Syrinscape, and give a shout-out to his video podcast, The Dice Stormers. Paramount, are you a fan of Dice Stormers?
Yeah, it's a fun one. I mean, they're not super serious, but it's a really cool live play, and it's really great to see him, like the dude who is Mr. Sound, doing the sound thing, and me being really jealous at how easy he makes it look.
Listener Lost Player says, "Say I like trains." I like trains. I don't know why you wanted to hear that, Mr. Lost Player.
Alrighty, guys.
Yeah. So, guys, until next time, I'm Mark Stella Jr.
And I'm Jefferson J. Thacker, also known as Param.
And if you want to find the path, you need no direction.
Bye.